wants for something better to define him. And listen, people who are on a quest to better their life and to find something that defines them on a higher level than how they are being viewed and defined will often go through some really dark places. We look at people caught up on drugs, and I'm going to say something that might shock you in terms of how I'm saying this. We look at people who are really caught up into a world of drugs, and they think, we end up writing them off. Look, what happened to you, man? Like, you were raised in a good family, and look where you've gotten to. Man, you're a disgrace. Well, now we're just adding onto their life that identity that they're trying so hard to find a path that leads them to a higher definition of who they are. That's why they're out doing the stuff they're doing. And if it's not drugs, maybe it's sexual deviance, or maybe it's crime, or maybe it's running with the bad guys, or being a tough guy, or maybe it's, there's all these, and you think, no, that's called being a loser. That's just somebody who's just throwing their life away and doesn't care. And no, that is somebody who is saying, I don't like how I'm defined. I don't know what it is that defined him. But somewhere along the way, whether it's the parents, the environment, or others, or maybe there's something in their own heart is condemning them, but something inside of them is crying out like Jacob, I don't want to be defined this way. He's in pretty good company. Because you know who else did this? King Solomon had it all. Greatest king on planet Earth at the time. Richest man on planet Earth at the time. These are names and titles that he had defining him, and he couldn't stand it. And he said, there's more. This is not how I want to be defined. And he says, if you read his writings in Scripture, you know what he said? He said, so for a period of time, I am the king. I am the king on this earth. He might have thought of himself as the king of kings on this earth. You can't get better, higher, richer, stronger, more powerful, more influential than King Solomon. And he said, it's not good enough. See, it's not just the bad names. Your best names aren't good enough. When the heart desires, is longing, because out there somewhere is a white stone with a name on it that speaks far more richly of who you are than any title you could have on this earth. And King Solomon said, you know what? For a period of time, I began to try other things. I went into dark alleys. And for a period of time, I thought maybe it's in the drinking and the carousing. And I gave myself to that. He would have been the guy we would all given. What happened to this guy? Has it all. Look at him. He's a mess. We'd have given up on him. We would have judged him. No, it's a man who knows, no matter how high the title is, that sits on him. There's a hunger in the heart. And you knew it in the womb. God might have even told you your name in the womb. I don't know. I don't remember it, if he did. He said, I gave myself to the carousing. And I took all the rules off. I mean, no holds barred. I went for it. I was the lowest, baddest, drunkard, drug addict on the planet. And wasn't there. He says, I gave myself for a period of time to sexual deviance. I went into that industry and took all the limits off it and said, I'm not going to withhold anything that my mind can even imagine, I'm going to do it. P. Diddy is going to be offended by my lifestyle. And he did that. And we would have thought, oh my gosh, what has happened to this guy? And he went through all the vices. See, people who have a hunger, it doesn't matter if you got a bad name on you or a good name. It's not the name God gave you. And you're wondering why. Why am I yearning for something more than what I have? It's because there is something more than what you have. And it's found inside of a white stone that you're going to get one day. But in the meantime, there's something. Deep calls to deep. There's something inside of you saying there's more, there's higher, there's better. I don't like the way I'm defined. And Jacob lived the first half of his life saying, I don't accept this name that's been given me. I know there's something better. I know there's something more. And I'm going to find it. And then he has the encounter with the pre-incarnate Christ and wrestles with him. And when he gets a hold of this encounter with Jesus, he knows what he's got a hold of. And now he says to him, because Jesus is like, let go, dude. And Jacob's like, you do what you need to do here. But if we get separated, it's not going to be because I let go. I ain't letting go until you bless me. And what does Jesus do? He says, okay, listen. I mean, this went on all night. He broke his hip in the whole thing. Maybe that's what happened to you. Were you wrestling with Jesus? I'm not letting go till you bless me, Lord. Well, you don't break a hip. Jesus says, okay, here's what we're going to do. Jacob, I'm going to change your name. I'm going to call you Israel. And he goes from heel grabber to Prince of God. And guess how he lives the second half of his life? No longer as heel grabber. No longer having to deceive anybody. He begins, his head goes up. His shoulders go back. He even is willing to meet his, he now walks as Prince of God on this earth. Because God said, I'm going to change your name. And you know what? It's going to change you. Sometimes it's not always that he changes the name. You've heard the name blind Bartimaeus, right? In the scripture, blind Bartimaeus was a guy who begged outside of the walls of Jericho, a cursed city. So here he's in a cursed city. Now, what is blind? We all know what blind means, because that's a name. I mean, even the Bible refers to him as blind Bartimaeus. Can I get a different name here? Do I have to be known as blind Bartimaeus? Well, Bartimaeus, are you blind? Yep. Well, that pretty much makes you blind Bartimaeus. So here he's blind Bartimaeus. Well, what does Bartimaeus mean? Well, Bar means son of, and Timaeus means that which evil produced. Oh my goodness. So he's blind, son of what sin caused, son of what sin produced. That's his name. You try to, get a job when your name is blind product of sin. No wonder he's the guy crying out to Christ when Jesus comes to, and on top of that, he's living in the cursed city of Jericho. Jesus comes along and he's like, he hears the commotion and he's like, what's going on? And they say, it's Jesus of Nazareth. I think he's heard, because at that moment he bursts in, he starts screaming, calling out the name of, listen, if we don't get to where he was, we're not going to have the encounter he had. There's a lot of people, it doesn't even tell you what Jesus did in Jericho.